this is Ruth Theresa with One Inspiring Woman, and today we're talking about how judging others really judge ourselves. I think this is one of the points that we kind of get after a period of time of feeling judged by others. And I think it's kind of one of those interesting, kind of like, interesting parts. So a lot of times when someone is judging you or you feel judged by someone else, it really is more a representation of how they feel about themselves, the person that's actually doing the judging, how they feel about themselves, how they feel about their world, how they feel about their parents, their grandparents, their children, their grandchildren, their job, their employment, everything else. It's more of a sign or information about them than it ever is about who they think they're judging. I know. Interesting. Because a lot of times once someone is judging someone else, if they're like, oh, they always have an easy life, it's probably because they feel like they didn't have an easy life, which means they felt like their parents didn't have an easy life, which means their grandparents may not have had an easy life. And it's one of those, it's just kind of, they're telling you more about their life than they are about you. And it's really interesting when you really think about it that way. And it's kind of like a yardstick that they think they're judging someone else, but really they're giving you more insight about their world. And this is something that kind of came up to me a week or so ago. I was talking to one of my neighbors, and we were kind of chatting. She's new in the neighborhood, and we were just kind of chatting for a few minutes. And she was telling me that this was happening or whatever else. And kind of the way she said it was like, oh, you don't have enough money to do this. And I was, saying kind of that was like her attitude. I kept getting that feeling from her. And at first I was like, I have plenty of money. I don't do whatever I want. And then I started thinking about it, and I was in just the moment with her. And as I kind of took a step back and really started thinking about it, it was like what she's telling me is, with her energy and her insight about what's going on in her world, what she really is doing is telling me about how she feels about her world. She feels like if I also had as much money as she did, then she wouldn't be special. If I could do everything she could do, she would have to put me on her level, which would give her a whole new realm of thinking. And I didn't say anything. I thought it was kind of rude, but it's one of those, it was like I noticed her as I talked to a few other people, like how she interacted with other people had that same mentality. Almost like everybody's beneath me, I have so much more. And that kind of really got my attention. And as the evening went on, I just thought it was interesting, one of those, she's measuring everybody else, but it also has something to do with how she thinks about not only her, like I said, her parents' parents, the lineage of how they raised her, but then it also has something to do with is there enough in the world for her kids? Because it's one of those, it's telling you way more about her. The other thing that I thought was really, really interesting is I also started thinking about it as I just was like, this is such an interesting kind of interesting mindset. I started thinking about it, and I was like, really what she's also telling is creator's energy, that you haven't made enough. Really. I thought that was really interesting, of just because she's like, kind of her mentality was like, I'm above everybody else. So if everybody had the same amount of wealth, if everybody made X number of dollars per year, if everybody made, let's just say $1 million per year, everybody was on the same level, she wouldn't be special. But on the other hand, she's also telling creator's energy that I have to be a step above everybody else. I have to be that one layer above everybody else. So I have more. Everybody else is here, and I have to be above everybody because there's not enough. If everybody made the same amount, then it's one of those, eventually kind of like we'll run out of money, or we'll run out of, great cars to drive or big houses to have or whatever it is. That's more her thinking. Her thinking, although she has lots of money, according to her, but it's like her thinking is very limited, which usually means that she's going to go through that money pretty quickly, or she's not going to value it the way everybody else is, and it's going to change how she works with money. And instead of being able to easily bring in more money to her and her family, it's going to start repelling money. That energy is going to start repelling money more and more. Now, her husband doesn't have the same mentality, so he's probably the one drawing in more of the money, and she's kind of more repelling the money. So it's interesting how this dual dynamics of kind of like when you judge someone else, you really judging yourself goes a long way. And a lot of times, like I said, it's how we measure our world. It's kind of like our yardstick of how we measure ourselves, but it's also our yardstick of how we measure our world around us. And that's not just our world, our family, that sort of thing, our friends. It also really measures how we believe Creator's energy is creating for us. Because if you think there's not enough of this or not enough of that, and I see this, I think a lot more with younger people of kind of like, well, so and so has a great boyfriend, or so and so has a great husband, or so and so has a great whatever. And I'm like, okay, first off, my first question is usually like, are you seeing this only on social media? Because usually the life that people tell you about on social media is not their real life, just so you know. But it's one of those, also part of that is, are you only hearing it once from one perspective? And of course, everybody wants to make their life sound better than it really is, or kind of put the best polish on it so it makes it look really nice. And that really can change how people react to you. And one of the things I thought was really interesting is kind of like the way you measure someone else. So are you measuring someone else by like just how much money they make per year, or how much what they drive, or what kind of house they have, how many square footage they have, that sort of thing? What you're doing is kind of measuring yourself against everybody else. And you're assuming that others won't measure up to you. And that's what you're hoping. It's like, I'm hoping I have more money than they do. I'm hoping that I have a better car than they do. I'm hoping that I have a whatever better than this. And that kind of gets into that, so where is that coming from? That goes back to Creator's energy. If there's only so many great cars in the world and you have one and I have one, oh, there's 2 less great cars in the world that you could have. Interesting, huh? So it kind of gives you such a great insight. So if you feel judged by someone else, make sure that you're kind of taking some time out and really thinking about what they're telling you that they're judging everybody else for, or why, or anything else. But then also one of those, what is it that you require getting from everybody else? What is it that they're really trying to gain from other people? And I tell you, 9 times out of 10, it's telling you who they are, where they're coming from, and what is their yardstick of how they measure not only themselves, but their world in general. So let's do some angel cards, and let's get us hopefully an angel's perspective of abundance, of judging someone else by your abundance levels. These 2 are coming up first. And this one's a power. You always have the power in everything that you do. Everything that you do every day has so much power. And when you judge other people, you're putting judgment out there. You're putting judgment out there for you and what you think you should have, or what other people should or should not have, or how they deal with other things. So it's like when you're putting your judgment out there, you're really putting your heart, mind, and body out into energy and hoping that no one else measures up to you. Next, this is forgiveness. Ask for forgiveness. And a lot of times when we judge others, we really don't want that person to forgive us. Like, we want to judge them and kind of put them down or squash them or whatever it is. But a lot of times we really have to apologize and forgive ourselves for judging that person, or allowing that other person to feel judged by us, because it's not our job. This one is ideas and inspiration. Thinking about when someone is telling you why they're judging someone else, or how they feel about someone else, realize that that is really the ideas and inspiration that are motivating and moving their life in so many different areas. I thank you so much for joining me today, and I know that we'll be talking again soon.